Okay, so thank you for joining me today to talk about the critical analysis of the claim that China's rise will be peaceful through the lens of realism and liberalism. Let's start off this exploration to shed light on the complex interplays between state actions, cooperation, and just national interests in the context of China's rise. Personally, I don't think that China's rise will be peaceful whatsoever. It's just very unlikely because just thinking through historical events that have already passed and happened, there has not been a single state, country, actor, any type of movement or anything like that rose to, the top of the food chain just by simply being nice and kind and just being loving. That has never been the case. It usually has always been through some type of power. It's through some type of force, through some type of conflict. There's always some type of disagreements. It's never a mutual decision. So that's why I think China's rise will not be peaceful. And here are my other theories as well. Well, here's the evidence through actual theories by realists and liberalists that prove my point. So, we're going to start off with the realist view of China. From a realist perspective, China's rise is viewed with caution and concern. Realists parrots that state are primarily driven by self-interest and seeking to just maximize power. And they're just trying to maximize powers. They're just trying to ensure their security, trying to ensure that they're on top, that they're number one. And in the context of China since sent to the top, realists argue that nations' growing economic and military capabilities may lead to a shifting balance of power, which potentially may result in geopolitical tensions and competition with existing global powers. And obviously, it's already not looking good because China is showing every single one of those things. And historical realist analysts often point to instances where power transitions have been accompanied by conflicts and raising fear about the peaceful nature of China's rise. So, here's the evidence. China's already trying to dominate Asia, and it has 6 outstanding territorial disagreements, which in the realist eyes already puts China on the defensive. And there are elements in China's rise that just align with realist principles. First is power dynamics. Realism emphasizes that the pursuit of power at the primary motive for state actions. So China's rapid economic growth and military modernization are seen as indicators of its pursuit for greater power and just influence on the world stage. Then we have China's military expansion. Particularly in the South China Sea, just around there, it's often viewed as just through the realist framework because they're literally just trying to expand territory for their own good. They didn't ask anybody. They didn't get any permission. They're just like, it's gonna benefit us. It's for our security. It's none of your guys' business. It doesn't matter if it's in your region. We're still doing it. So there's that. And a rising power like China and an already established power like the United States definitely are prone to conflict. They're going to go head to head because they're going to be the top 2 powerhouses. And realism highlights that states prioritize their national interests, and China's assertiveness in protecting its economic interests aligns with realist expectations of states. And this all connects to power because China is just trying to increase their power so that they can dominate Asia and maybe potentially weaken America by gaining more land and just more power, more hard power, more soft power, more everything. Because if you dominate the United States, you will definitely be feared. Trust me, you will be feared. So, this connects to sovereignty as well because China feels threatened by the countries around it. Because all the countries surrounding China are allies with the United States. They're besties with the United States. They're not beefing with it. And so if China were to potentially, launch an attack on the United States or just start beefing with the United States, it would not work good because it's already surrounded by potential assassins. And yeah, so, and then also China's violating sovereignty in the South China Sea because it's just violating their external sovereignty, because they're literally just like we're just gonna move in and just dump sand and create islands for us in your territory. Yeah, so here's the criticisms of like liberals. So the neglect of economic interdependence, realists overlook that, and stabilizing influence of economic interdependence as China becomes more economically integrated with the world, the costs of conflict increase. If they were to have conflict with the United States, they can get cut off from so many different supplies sources, and that's just providing a reason for why they should stay peaceful, because it does not benefit them by starting a war or any type of conflict. And then liberals argue that addressing global challenges like climate change, pandemics, riots, stuff, not necessarily riots, but just like big movements that are just worldwide, it requires collaboration. And China has shown efforts that they can work as a positive force and engage through multilateral approaches, which is really good and shows that they are willing to work. And they're not just very hostile, and they're just ready to fight and attack everybody in their way. Then we have, from the liberals' view of China's rise, liberals paint a view of China's rise. Liberals point to China, to China's rise to the top to be peaceful, and they believe so because China has deep economic ties between the U.S. and other countries, so that already puts them on the spot. You can't just go and be like, oh, I don't, what? We're like this, and now we're just gonna start beef. You can't do that. Well, you can do that, but then you just risk losing all of your progress, basically. You're losing multiple connections, you're losing multiple resources, you're losing money, you're losing a lot of things. They have no reason to do that, so there's just really no point at this point. So, China is involved in institutions like the UN and the World Trade. Organizations which is positive, because that indicates that they aren't steering towards military confrontations, and China's participation in international efforts to tackle issues like climate change, pandemics, just public health, stuff like that. It just aligns with liberals' principles, because multilateralism goes to show that it's just for the greater good to just be all friendly to each other instead of just, beefing, because there's just literally no reason for it. So then the criticisms of that is that realists think that liberalists just oversimplify things like other countries. For example, they think that liberalists view other countries not as threats, which is not a good thing, because they could be plotting something on you and you don't know that. So hello, my video I had a 10% power on my phone, so it stopped for a second there, I think. Anyways, so basically, if they are, where was I? Sorry, I got sidetracked by the battery there. Basically, just realists argue that institutions might not be able to help their own country, being a part of organizations might not help you out in the long run. Like, yes, you might be friends with them, but if you're in the middle of a war, would they help you out? They might not. You never know. You never know. So that's one of the criticisms there. And so the brief summary is basically that the evidence for realist power dynamics, there needs to be caution about China's growing economic and military capabilities leading to power struggles. Then there's the security dilemma that concerns like military expansion in South China Sea, which is a big deal, obviously, and just China's national interests. Then, and just like China's emphasis to like reach their goals of like not necessarily world domination, but maybe just the first step is Asia domination, you know? So then we have evidence for for liberalism. China is seen to be willing to cooperate with other states, and it has really deep economic ties, which has a likelihood for China to be peaceful. And China's already seen to be a part of like international institutions, in that like just I'm doing it. Can you stop walking, please? Can you close it?
I need Spike.
Sorry again. I'm not walked in. This is the second time, and I'm not redoing it. I'm already at 11 minutes. And so my personal opinion is that through all this evidence laid out, I do not believe that China's rise will be peaceful. Maybe in some parts, in some aspects, it might be peaceful, but that's just unlikely. There's definitely going to be some complications with other countries. There's definitely going to be some type of disputes, some type of military power used against something. So there's just no way that they're just going to get to the top through like open cooperation with like the United States. There's no way. Plus, but they might not. So you never know, because it would be very foolish of them to attack America, because they're already a well-established country. They've been way ahead of China for a long time now, and China's just getting to the point where the US has been at. So it's just stupid. They would lose probably a lot of money, a lot of connections, and just probably a lot of their progress. So not a good move. But at the same time, by dominating Asia, they do gain the power over probably a lot of the world. And yeah, that's my analysis of this. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry for the disruptions of my mom. This is the third time I'm filming this, so that's not the third time, but that's the third time she walked in, so I'm sorry. But thank you. Have a good night.